Welcome to a special edition of the Emerging Civil War podcast. We've got some breaking news in the Civil War business today with one of our key partners and one of our close battlefield friends. So I'd like to introduce Chris Brown, the new Executive Director of Civil War Trails. And I'd like to also introduce my good friend Drew Gruber, who is now the site manager for the new Culpeper County Civil War battlefields that includes Brandy Station and Cedar Mountain. So good morning, fellas.
Good morning, Chris.
Good
Thanks for
morning.
having us.
Yeah, Drew, that was a mouthful for me to say, and people are probably used to you being the executive director of Civil War Trails. So that's the big announcement today is that you're making a switch, and so is Chris. Tell us about it, Drew.
Oh goodness, where to even begin, Chris? I'm very humbled to have been selected by Virginia State Parks, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, to be the new park manager for the Culpeper Battlefields State Park. So by my count, I think there's 5 battlefields, Civil War battles, by the way, and of course a couple Rev War engagements, but that's for the other ERW group. Yeah, so I'll be stepping into that position late May, early June of 2025, and I'm very excited about it.
And this means, Chris, some big changes for you because you're now stepping up into a leadership role at Civil War Trails.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm no stranger to Civil War Trails. I've been riding the roads with Drew for the last 8 years, which is kind of hard to believe. We've done, based on the math we did, about a 250,000 miles together. So I've seen some of our sites along the way of those last 8 years. But I'm very excited. Trails is in phenomenal shape. We've got more projects than we can swing a stick at the moment, which is not a bad position to be in. But a lot going on, a lot of exciting new stories coming out, being told that have never been told before. So it's a great time to step up. I'm very excited. We've got the right team in place, and we're going to keep doing the great work that your listeners are used to seeing us doing.
Now, you say the two of you have spent a 250,000 miles on the road together. That's a country music song waiting to happen right there.
We have seen some things.
We have also tried to sing some songs too, I might add. I mean, unless you, there's no other way to say it, but unless you have locked yourself in a van or a pickup truck with somebody for, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days and have driven, oh, I don't know, Chris, what's a Tennessee run? 2,500 miles?
Give or take in a week, yeah.
And seen upwards of 40 Civil War battlefields, you've not lived. we have some super strong opinions on barbecue, really hard opinions on barbecue, and we have often redone our top 5 beers several times, I think, but
multiple times a trip usually.
Yeah, which is a good thing. But yeah, there is nothing like it in the world than being on the Civil War Trail.
And that to me seems like one of the most important ways to engage with Civil War Trails is you're out exploring, you're trying restaurants, you're trying hospitality, having some beers, and doing history at the same time. Chris, to me, that seems like that's a pretty vibrant and fun operation.
It absolutely is, and I will say, days on the road are the far superior days in this line of work. But no, and that's one of the things I always encourage folks when they reach out to us. If you're looking to go to a Civil War trail site, to a battlefield, chances are we've been there. We know where those eats are. We know where the good beer is. We know which barbecue joint maybe to stay away from because we tried it and it wasn't quite up to snuff. So if anyone's planning their trip, we are happy to kind of give you the trails approved accommodations and have anything you can imagine you might need on the road. We probably tried it. So it is one of the cooler things about this job is not only do I get to engage with the history, go stand in the footsteps of soldiers who were there, folks self-emancipating, anyone from any walk of life in the 19th century. I also get to smell where that smoke's coming from and go find that smoker and track them down. One of the things we always, say when you're on the trail following the sites, bring cash because you're going to find some cash only businesses and give yourself a little more time than you think you need because you're going to get sidetracked and it's going to be amazing when you do.
And it's all field tested.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, Drew, because we're having a sort of a little party here making this announcement, obviously the transition from trails for you must have been on friendly terms. And so, good things for you. Tell us a little bit about what you'll be up to and kind of where you're going.
Definitely on friendly terms. It's always nice when you can look at a situation and be like, well, everything's good here, as opposed to bail when, the ship's taking on water. So yeah, it's been the funniest thing. I remember standing on Fleetwood Hill. Chris, I'm pretty sure you were there for that installation. It was daggone cold. And we were up there with Bud Hall and Matt George, who was with the ABT at the time. And I think Gary was with us. And a couple other people were standing around and be like, man, this would be a really cool state park. And I was like, yeah, it would be a really cool state park, wouldn't it? And since that time, over the last 7, 8 years now, Civil War Trails has helped the Friends of Cedar Mountain, the Brandy Station Foundation, who operates Graffiti House, Virginia State Parks, ABT, Culpeper Tourism. I mean, we've been sort of in lockstep with all of these stakeholders for the last several years, like sort of planning what the interpretation should look like and where the trails should go. And we've gotten to know everybody. So when the job opened, I was kind of like, oh, that might be really cool. And then a bunch of people were like, hey, did you apply yet? I was like, well, no. I mean, I love Civil War Trails, and like, you're gonna apply. You should apply. Have you applied yet? And it was really, really nice. And then I was kind of like, okay, fine. And then when I started talking with people about what the job might be, man, it hit me real hard, and it was everything I love about Civil War Trails. But instead of there being, what are we up to, Chris? 1,526 sites and 530 municipalities. It's 5 battlefield sites in 1 municipality. And it was kind of like, okay, it might be nice to sort of, hand the baton over, or hand the bugle over, and and focus on, 1 group of stakeholders in 1 battlefield. So yeah, that's kind of the long story made short on how that kind of manifested. But I could not be more excited. I think the cool thing about, and both Chris's here will certainly understand this, as would the listeners. I mean, the thing about our field is that we're voracious learners, right? And the one thing about Civil War Trails is we're never disappointed for lack of stories. But I think it's going to be it's really exciting for me, the prospect to learn a new organizational culture, a new group of battlefields that I've only ever tangentially gotten a chance to touch. And I cannot be more excited about it. I think the total of what's aspirational for the park right now is going to be 2,200 acres. There are obviously several different disparate units, I guess, as we would call it, around one state park. So yeah, I'm very excited to wrap my head around this one.
And Chris, for you, this is a great opportunity because you've been deeply associated with trails for years and years, and now you kind of get to put your own stamp on things. Tell us what's in store for you.
Yeah, so having been in the second chair for the last 8 years, I've gotten to learn a lot. I've had a great example to learn from on how you manage what at the end of the day is quite a lot of turf, quite a lot of partners. As Drew mentioned, we've got just shy of 1,600 sites now across 6 states and 550-ish municipal partners we work with. So there's a lot of breadth to take on there. Luckily, I'm not coming in cold. I think it'd be a lot for someone coming in cold. I'm really excited to work with partners on finding and telling the stories that haven't been told. I mean, battles always get the big press, rightly so. It's the big things that happen, but we're starting to get partners coming to us with kind of the untold stories. The amount of pacifists and um, folks who don't want to fight in the Shenandoah Valley who are being ferried out of Virginia, those stories are starting to come out and are being fascinating. We're starting to tell stories in unconventional places. We've got what we think now is probably the most remote Civil War trail site, which is, what do we figure it was? 12 miles from the nearest parking lot down in Falls Cape State Park in Virginia. So we've done such a good job since the 90s telling those core stories. We're telling them in new ways. We're finding new personal stories to insert into those big battlefield stories, but we're also getting stories that the folks who have been in the cars with all of your listeners on every battlefield tour every summer of their entire young lives now into adulthood, we're starting to tell them new stories that they might be more interested in when they're trapped in the car with dad on the way to Antietam or Gettysburg or wherever it is they're heading. There's new stories along that way that might speak to a different travel. And I think for me, that's one of the things I'm most excited about. We've got the best board in place we've ever had. They're engaged, they're ready. We've got municipal partners who are excited to tell different stories or thinking about the Civil War differently. And I think we're in such a good spot to really do some, what I would say is not non-traditional, but hasn't been the focus of Civil War interpretation. we're in a really good spot to work with communities to tell those less traditional stories. I'm very excited to work on that. And it's a little bit of everything. We've got industrial stories. We've got, women working in the wartime effort. We've got this pacifist thing in the valley's gotten huge. We've got a lot going on. I'm very excited.
And as I look at kind of both of these stories, what's going on with you in the trails, Chris, and what's going on with you, Drew, and Culpeper County, to me, this demonstrates that there's still plenty of interest out there for the Civil War. People are saying like, oh gosh, people aren't into the Civil War like they used to be. But, growing trails program with lots of new different stories, brand new state park with lots of different stuff. That's a huge investment. Drew, I know that you've been a big cheerleader for this idea that people are as engaged as ever with the Civil War, but perhaps in just different ways. Connect those dots for us just a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science, and I think as I say this, your listeners will get it. So, Civil War Trails serves up a bevy of stories, okay? And you got various levels of nerddom here, and you'll see where I'm going with this. So, the Knoxville campaign, most people are probably like, oh yeah, I know the Knoxville campaign. And then you get the next level of nerd on the Knoxville campaign, which is like Campbell Station. And most people, and I think listening, will be like, Campbell Station, yeah, that rings a bell. But then within the Knoxville campaign, you have like Walker's Ford and Big Creek. And I'm like, oh, I don't know those battles, right? And we tell those stories. We have them. So if you really want to do the Knoxville campaign, depending on your level of nerd, Civil War Trails has got you covered. And I say this, and just to give like another anecdote, like we hear this from the stereotypical Civil War traveler all the time. They're sort of like, oh, well, I've done Fredericksburg. Oh, okay. Well, have you done the Battle of Goldsboro Bridge in North Carolina? Well, what does that have to do with Fredericksburg? And I was like, well, Foster's Raid is a big distraction to Fredericksburg, and in a purposefully good way. And if I do get a Civil War nerd who's like, oh, of course I've heard of Foster's Raid, I've heard of Goldsboro Bridge, and I'll say to him, well, have you been the Battle of Whitehall? Well, no, I've not done that. So the cool thing about Civil War Trails is, we scratch the itch for the various level of nerds, right? You have your big battlefield nerds, and you can drill down to a little bit of nerddom, and then you can get super nerddom. And usually that also means that these people are going out into each of these communities. And as they do that, they're going to stay overnight, right? They're going to shop and dine, and that puts money back into the local economy. So this is a long way of saying that, what we hear from your traditional Civil War traveler is that they sort of feel like they've already done the big battlefield things, right? But then Civil War Trails has all these various other different layers of things to go do. And once you've scratched those things off the list, then you get into a whole pile of things that, like Chris has mentioned before, these stories that are just starting to bubble to the surface now as we peel back all those different layers. And that's taking the stereotypical Civil War traveler back into the field to hear personal stories they've never experienced before, they didn't know about, because we're helping uncover these things, or rather, Civil War Trails is helping uncover these things. All of that means that there's a strong economic return. So not only is there interest by the travelers to go see the things that may have been termed esoteric or overly detailed or too personal, but the additions of the personal stories, the marginalized stories, are things that the traditional Civil War travelers never heard, they want to go and see. And then, to quote Chris, all the people who've sort of been trapped in the car for all those years, right, all of a sudden are starting to look at these personal stories as being more interesting. So I think this is a really long way of saying that interest in the Civil War is not just growing with our dedicated audience, but all the people who have been around that dedicated audience for years are starting to realize that the Civil War stories can speak to them too. And then beyond all of that, our community, all of us here, have made such a massive economic impact that municipalities are seeing this return. States are seeing this return. So they're doing things like launching new state parks. So yeah, we're in a good spot for Civil War travel and tourism. And it's because this community as a whole, especially everything that ECW does, has banded together to show everyone just how important and prominent and potent the Civil War stories can really be.
And if I can piggyback off of what Drew said, this to a certain extent is very quantifiable. Last spring, the state of Virginia printed 60,000 brochures. They were out the door in 6 months. You can't tell me the Civil War isn't popular. We cannot keep collateral in the hands of travelers. It's going out the door so quickly because people want to go and see these places. And, it does bring money back to those municipalities and also excite someone for the next trip. to go down that next rabbit hole, to find the next story that they want to hear and find, and it's out there.
Which means there has to be an evolution, though, right, Chris? Like you have to evolve how you tell the stories, because if you don't evolve or add stories, then your audience is finite, right? Be like, why? Okay, why? I mean, sorry to pick on Gettysburg, but like, okay, why go back to Gettysburg, right? Unless you're finding something new or you're adding interpretation, why go back? And I think that's the coolest thing about what Civil War Trails does. Is it's constantly adding to the breadth of knowledge and the sites to go see.
So Drew, obviously you're going to have to kind of not really start from scratch because there's infrastructure, there's interpretation in Culpeper, but now kind of having that unified vision and figuring out what this is going to be and how to attract people and kind of what to do with all that. You're just dipping your toe in because you're just getting started, but what do you sort of see as the first few steps for you?
Yeah, so I am eager to learn what those first few steps might actually be. But in my mind, the next few steps are quite simple, and they're the foundation of any good planning process, which is to get to know everyone. I mean, everyone knows Bud Hall, right? But have you really sat in a truck and driven? Like, do you really know him? Like, I cannot wait to get in a truck and drive around Culpeper with Bud. I cannot wait to spend time with Diane and the Cedar Mountain Friends and the folks at the Graffiti House, and understand what their perspectives are on not just their segment of the Culpeper Battlefields, but how they operate and what they find interesting and what their experiences are with the visitors. And then I'm really excited to go around and if I'm able to, not knock on doors and get to meet the people who currently farm the parcels and the people who live adjacent to it, and get to know the business owners and wrap my mind around what visitors think the park is, what the community thinks the park is, and what visitors in the community want the park to be. And in my mind, that would be the natural first step. And then, as I understand it, because I've not officially started yet, as I understand it, one of the big first processes is going to be the comprehensive planning process of figuring out what we want the park to look like. So while I guess I can't invite everybody to be part of that process, once I can, I'm really excited to have everybody's voice involved. Because I think even within our audience here today, I don't think anyone would conceive of a Civil War battlefield park the same. I think everybody would have a different perspective of what's important or what type of battlefield they really like. And we hear this by way of Civil War Trails frequently. People who like the battlefields that aren't littered with monuments and landscapes, ones that are more pristine. We also like people who can go every 5 to 10 steps and see a sign. We also have people who, like there's a lot of folks who go out to Culpeper now who aren't necessarily interested in the Civil War, but they'll go out to go horseback riding. Well, shoot, if there's no better perspective for the Battle of Brandy Station than being on the back of a horse, I know no other. Recently I was in touch with a guy who does paddling tours down the Rappahannock and Rapidan, going by ford to ford. So you could paddle the battle in Culpeper. So I'm really excited to wrap my mind around what are the resources, and that includes the human resources. Who are the people who are already there? What are the stories that they're telling, and why this battlefield is important to them? So I'm excited to sort of become a sponge for the next several months.
Yeah. So now, when do you actually begin your duties?
My first day is May 27th.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that's when I get the hat though.
Everybody wants a hat. We should, I think we should maybe at least the three of us come up with a hat for ourselves because I think everyone wants a hat.
That's true. Chris has got a good trails hat that he rolls around in.
And he
I mean,
the bugle. He has the bugle.
I've got it now, so that's it.
And then, Chris, you began your duties almost as soon as the screen door hit Drew on his way out the door. So, have you had the chance to catch your breath at all?
No, it'll be a little while yet, I think. By about the time I see you guys for the symposium, I'm hoping I'll have caught my breath by then. But no, I mean, it's definitely hit the ground running, but that's not a bad thing. We have engaged partners. I've got travelers writing in, letting me know their opinions on signage, which is always more than welcome, but it keeps us busy. But it's not a bad thing. I mean, being in demand is, an allure all its own, and we definitely are in demand. And I always appreciate, I know folks in your audience reach out to us when there are things that they don't agree with on a sign, which I'm always happy to entertain. We do employ a full-time historian and editor for a reason. I'm happy to connect folks with him. But it's busy. There's a lot going on, but it's not a bad thing. definitely be some time on the road in the next 6 months, but I'm hoping by about the winter to be more on top of things. But if you reach out to Civil War Trails for a little while and it's slow getting back, please know it's not you, it's us, and we're doing our best. But things are moving along.
Yeah, very good. Now, the two of you have worked together for a long, long time. Not like you're going to be ditching each other, but let me give you the opportunity to say something nice about your colleague as you guys each begin your new roles, if that's okay. Drew, let me put you on the spot. I'll have you go first if you want to say something nice about Chris and his new role with Civil War Trails.
Oh man, this is an easy one. Everything that this program has benefited from in the last 8 years, Chris has been the architect of. I've just had the ability to call it my own as the executive director. The program's in good hands with him because he has built the foundation on which this program stands on, which has given me the ability to go out and sell the program. I am intensely proud of him, in as much as a best work buddy can be. And I absolutely cannot wait to see what he gets up to in the next couple of years.
Chris, anything you'd like to say to Drew?
No, absolutely. I will say I am thrilled and excited for Drew to see what he can do when he's sitting in one place with one thing to focus on. Any of you all who have ever met Drew, and I imagine a lot of this audience has, Drew's got about 10,000 plates spinning at all times in that head of his. I'm very excited to see the care and feeding that he has given every one of our partners, has made them feel special all along the way. I'm very excited to see what he can do with a more set stakeholder group with a set mission that is all unified going forward in one direction. I'm thrilled for him. I'm excited for him. As any of you in the audience who have met Drew know, he can endear himself very rapidly with new folks. And I'm excited to see what he's able to do with the community up there in Culpeper and get these parks pointing in the right direction.
Fantastic. So as we wrap up, Chris, if folks want to keep up with Civil War Trails and in being on all the latest news and developments, how should they do that?
Yeah, so we're on most of social media at Civil War Trails. Facebook and Instagram are our two biggest outlets at the moment. If we're on the road, you'll see us there checking in at restaurants and Civil War Trails sites. As always, the executive director at Civil War Trails email address. If you guys have anything you need from me, I'm happy to get to you there. And otherwise, for the ECW audience, I'll see you guys in August at the symposium. I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to getting some more one-on-one time.
Very good. And Drew, if folks want to keep tabs on the development that you guys have going on in Culpeper, how should they do that?
Yeah, so there's currently a website up on Virginia State Parks for the Culpeper Battlefields State Park. It gives you a couple of the park trail maps that are currently open and available to you. And then, of course, keeping up with Virginia State Parks on Facebook and Instagram. They have some things coming up there, so they'll post about some other events forthcoming. And then, of course, Friends of Cedar Mountain Battlefield, American Battlefield Trust, and then the Brandy Station Foundation at the Graffiti House. Their social media tags. You'll be able to keep up with events they have. So there's, a 5K run coming up later this year at Cedar Mountain. Brandy Station Foundation has some opening hours for Graffiti House that are being posted. So those are the best ways to keep up with us right now.
Very good. Well, I want to wish you both the best of luck. I'm sure I'll be in touch very soon because I feel that Emerging Civil War really enjoys a wonderful relationship with Civil War Trails, and really excited about the development of a relationship with the folks in Culpeper under your leadership, Drew. So I just want to wish you both the best of luck. You guys are just been doing gangbuster things, and I know that you'll continue to do gangbuster things.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, thank you, Chris, and a thanks to all the ECW readers and fans out there who have been so supportive of Civil War Trails, both of myself and Chris over the last 8 years. We feel that love.
So feel the love, feel the love. Well, on behalf of Chris Brown and Drew Gruber, I'm Chris Mikowski for Emerging Civil War. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you online and on the battlefield.